Rand Merchant Bank were the deal makers behind the listing of ARC Investments on the JSE. I'm joined now by Gerhard Botha from RMB to understand their role in this regard. Welcome, Gerhard.
Thank you for having me, Tumi.
Let's start here. Tell us about the decision to back ARC Investments initially. Why them and who exactly are they?
So in order to understand ARC Investments, one needs to go back to 2003 with the creation of Ubuntu Porto Investments, or UBI. UBI was initially created to become Sanlam's broad-based black economic empowerment partner. The main aim of UBI from the outset was to make a difference in the lives of ordinary South Africans by becoming the black controlled and owned financial services champion in South Africa.
All right. That said, Gerhard, talk us through what necessitated RMB to back ARC Investments. It is part of an empowerment deal that involves triple BEE.
So the uniqueness of ARC Investments is the story effectively of what UBI created with ARC itself, or African Rainbow Capital. African Rainbow Capital was effectively established in 2015, and since 2015, ARC has done about 33 deals in different companies, financial services companies, non-financial services companies, and have been able to secure investments in a range of cash generative as well as high growth assets in the market. ARC Investments was incorporated by ARC and was listed on the JSE. ARC Investments in turn has become an investor in the ARC Fund, and the ARC Fund is managed by a black owned and controlled general partner.
Right.
So on listing, ARC Investments also raised 4.3 billion rand of primary capital, which it effectively has transferred to the ARC Fund. The ARC Fund will use these proceeds to pay for existing commitments, as well as to have it ready for new investments over the next few months.
ARC comes with a very good reputation. Tell us then about the role of RMB in this particular listing.
So RMB provided a holistic structuring and capital market solution to ARC and ARC Investments through acting as the financial advisor and sole book runner on the transaction. In terms of the financial advisory we provided, we effectively helped ARC and ARC Investments create a structurally efficient and BEE compliant listing structure. This required us to have quite a detailed knowledge in terms of exchange control regulations, BEE codes of good practice, private equity fund structures, as well as investor requirements in the market. In terms of RMB's bookrunner role, RMB through RMB Morgan Stanley engaged with the market, with financial institutions, and effectively helped the management team engage with investors through a roadshow. And this roadshow was ultimately very successful, which led from the capital raise of 1.9 billion to be increased by 2.2 billion in terms of the offer.
Quite amazing. Talk to us then about the capital raising process in detail. What exactly is involved there and how does it unfold?
So in terms of the capital raising process, ARC Investments initially wanted to raise 4 billion rand from a combination of cornerstone investors and through an offer to financial institutions. In terms of the cornerstone investor process, management engaged with a range of sovereign wealth funds, development finance institutions, and a private wealth manager. This ultimately proved very successful, with the management team successfully raising 2.1 billion rand from the Public Investment Corporation, the GIC, which is a sovereign wealth fund for the government of Singapore, as well as Sanlam Private Wealth. In terms of the offer to financial institutions, RMB and the management team engaged with a variety of financial institutions in South Africa. This offer to financial institutions was initially targeted at 1.9 billion, but ultimately, due to strong demand, was increased to 2.2 billion rand.
Going slightly back to the BEE element of this listing, how is black control achieved?
So from the outset, it was critical for the management team to ensure that we achieve multiple levels of BEE compliance throughout the structure. So firstly, the ARC Investments is the investor in the ARC Fund, and the ARC Fund is managed by a black-owned and controlled general partner. This effectively allows all investments made by the ARC Fund to be classified as BEE compliant investments. Secondly, for as long as ARC Investments and other BEE shareholders own more than 51% of ARC Investments, ARC Investments will be able to rely on the modified flow-through rule in order to ensure that its investments are BEE compliant. In circumstances where ARC Investments and other BEE shareholders to fall below 51%, ARC Investments will be able to rely on other elements of the DTI codes of good practice, as well as the unlisted B share, which will enable ARC to vote up to 51% of ARC Investments, and thereby ensuring permanent black control into the future.
Lastly, Gerhard, for investment holding companies, how should this listing be seen? Should it be seen as a benchmark, as in a broad spectrum of things where black economic empowerment is included?
So ARC Investment provides a unique value proposition to investors, but we believe that the lessons we've learned from a structural perspective and a capital markets perspective can be applied to any other investment holding company in South Africa. The key to understanding investment holding companies is really to understand the potential discount to NAV that the investment holding company will trade in the aftermarket. Through our experience on this listing and other listings, we have found that this is usually a function of the structural efficiency of the listed vehicle, the quantum of the management fees and the performance participation, the equity story and the investment portfolio, as well as the ability of the investment holding company to generate net returns in excess of its cost of capital over a long period of time. Therefore, we believe that the lessons we've learned through this can be applied to other investment holding companies in the South African market, especially to unlisted, black-owned and controlled investment holding companies that want to come to the public markets and raise capital.
Thank you so much for your time, Gerhard. That was Gerhard Botha of RMB talking to us about the Motsepe-backed ARC Investments.